The moment he steps into the cage, silence isn't just shattered, it's murdered. They call him the Neanderthal, but he isn't some relic of a forgotten past. He's a walking echo of ancient fury reborn into modern combat. With the primal face of a Viking berserker and the cold precision of a trained assassin, Frederick Vosgröne doesn't just fight, he hunts. Before the cage door even locks, his eyes fixate on the man across from him, and it's not a sporting contest anymore. It's war. His very aura is an unanswered question. Who unleashed this beast? And fans, both awestruck and horrified, whisper the same rumor. Is this Brock Lesnar's son? Truth be told, the origin of this savage isn't as mythical as some hope, but it's no less powerful. Born in Düsseldorf, Germany, this maniacal grappling machine didn't grow up under the lights of an octagon or in the shadow of any famous father. He was just another kid with a PlayStation and a curiosity for pain. Ironically, it wasn't a dojo or gym that birthed the Neanderthal, it was a UFC video game. And on its cover was the beast himself, Brock Lesnar. Something about that image, that rawness, that dominance, ignited a wildfire in young Frederick. A fire that wouldn't be tamed by fantasy. He didn't just play the game, he became obsessed with mastering the moves. Every transition, every takedown, every submission, drilled into his muscles through mimicry. Then he took it to reality. At 16, Frederick dove into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No shortcut, no fast track, just blood, sweat, and relentless obsession. Under the tutelage of Dickie Martin at Carlos Gracie London, he molded his instincts into a weapon. And like a madman on a mission, he wasn't content with comfort. He sought out brutality, training with Bulgarian wrestling legend Lubomir Kumbarov, who Frederick himself called the strongest man he's ever faced. And in the fire of these training rooms, the Neanderthal was forged. The battlefield was no longer imaginary. He entered the world of elite grappling with a fury that turned heads. From the British National Open to Polaris Grand Prix, he tasted defeat, tasted glory, but above all, tasted evolution. Each battle etched new scars into his mind and taught him the brutality of precision. In 2020, he stood on the podium of the No-Gi World Championship, third place, but first in hunger. He was a chaos artist in the arena, turning technical warfare into primal carnage. Arm triangles, heel hooks, face cranks. His submissions weren't just tactical victories, they were punishments for daring to stand against him. But still, it wasn't enough. Grappling wasn't a big enough canvas. He wanted violence with stakes, war with fists, blood with purpose. So in 2021, he walked into the MMA world, not to compete, but to conquer. On May 30th, he stepped into the cage for his debut. His opponent Erhan Okuroglu may as well have walked into a wood chipper. Frederick wasn't flashy, he was focused. The first round was suffocation, a pressure storm of ground control and submission attempts. By the second, the air was gone. Okuroglu had nothing left but surrender, arm triangle, tap. Just like that, the Neanderthal announced his presence. Yet what stunned the world was not the victory, but his dissatisfaction. In a chilling post-fight reflection, Frederick admitted he hated his performance. Not out of false modesty, but because destruction wasn't enough. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to annihilate. So while others celebrated, he vanished into training. Months turned into years, rumors swirled, injury, contract issues, fear from promoters. But those were just distractions. The truth? He was building something, a better version, a stronger incarnation, a storm that would arrive when the world least expected. And it came. In October 2024 at We Love MMA 74, he returned. His opponent, Christian Feiser, barely existed. In 16 seconds, Frederick locked in a heel hook so violent, so precise, it stunned even seasoned fans. It wasn't a brawl, it was a statement. And just a month later, he doubled down. Another heel hook. Another victim, Nikola Jojovic. This time, the man lasted 90 seconds. That was all. And with those two savage displays, the world remembered his name. Or more precisely, the myth behind it. The Neanderthal wasn't just back. He was hunting. People started to wonder if he was more than just a fighter. Was he a throwback to some prehistoric warrior lineage? Or was it possible, just possible, that Brock Lesnar, the conqueror of two sports, left more than just a legacy behind? The timelines were strange, the resemblance uncanny, and the power undeniable. Was he the German-born heir to the American juggernaut? Only Brock and Frederick's mother could say for sure. But in the end, it didn't matter. Whether son or spiritual successor, the Neanderthal was on a war path. Then came April 5th, 2025, Octagon 69, a night that changed everything. His opponent, Jerk Montiac, wasn't just a target. He was a witness. The crowd didn't just watch, they roared, they screamed. And when Frederick started laughing mid-fight, a guttural, wild, unhinged laugh, it shook the arena. This wasn't just a man winning. This was a man unleashing something ancient. He chased Montiac with a predator's hunger, grounded him, crushed him, submitted him, arm triangle, again. But this time the crowd erupted like never before. They didn't see technique. They saw a force of nature resurrected. But as the crowd erupted in bloodthirsty joy, Frederick didn't raise his hands in triumph. He simply walked away, unbothered, untouched, unbroken. Because to him, this wasn't glory, it was duty. A duty to dominate, a duty to become the version of himself that the world both fears and denies. In that walk, people saw shades of Brock Lesnar's silent rage, the predator who never needed showmanship, just chaos. And in that moment, whispers turned to obsession. UFC fans, MMA analysts, casual watchers, everyone needed to know, who the hell is this monster? And more importantly, who dares to stop him? Social media caught fire. Clips of his heel hooks went viral. His scream, his laugh, his face, shared like ancient war paintings. UFC veterans began weighing in. Some dismissed him as an untested brute. Others, the smart ones, saw something deeper. They saw technique layered under savagery. They saw cold calculation disguised as madness. They saw the blueprint of a heavyweight threat unlike anything Europe had bred before. Frederick Vosgröne wasn't just a grappler turned brawler. He was a fusion of old-world grit and new-school precision. A genetic anomaly carved out of chaos, designed to end careers. While the world speculated about contracts and fight offers, Frederick stayed silent. No call-outs, no trash talk, just training. That silence deafening. Because in a world where everyone screams to be seen, his refusal to speak made him louder than all of them. And behind that silence was obsession. Frederick wasn't just focused on MMA. He was dissecting the sport, studying movements, breaking down systems, killing his old self daily to be reborn stronger. No gym selfies, no sponsor plugs, just pain, repetition, and isolation. Because for him, attention was never the goal. Domination was. What's most terrifying is that he's still raw, still learning, still flawed. And yet he finishes men in seconds. He controls professional fighters like they're amateurs. He makes seasoned grapplers look like they've never felt pressure before. Imagine what he'll become in 2 more years, 5, 10. The potential is monstrous, but with that potential comes a price. Frederick's path isn't clean, it's violent, it's unpredictable, and the closer he gets to the top, the more the world will try to either break him or claim him. They'll label him, hype him, use him, and when they can't control him, they'll fear him. But Frederick is no puppet. He's too wild, too feral, too self-made. His myth can't be bought or sold. That's why fans cling to the Brock Lesnar comparison, not just because of looks or power, but because Lesnar was untamed. He refused to play by the rules. He crossed lines, burned bridges, and dared to win where he wasn't supposed to. Frederick is cut from the same cloth. Not polished, not marketable, but inevitable. And whether he ends up under the UFC lights or stays an underground legend, the outcome will be the same. Men will fall, limbs will snap, the storm will grow. Some say his ceiling is Bellator, others say he's UFC bound. A few dare to whisper he might become the next Pride-style heavyweight legend, a freak show killer who gathers bodies for breakfast. But the most dangerous possibility? He doesn't care about any of it. Because when a man is driven not by fame, but by purpose, he's unpredictable. And when his purpose is pain, you don't sign him to a contract. You unleash him like a weapon. You pray the cage is enough to contain him, And you hope the man standing across from him understands what's coming. And just when you think you've figured him out, he shifts, he adapts, he adds layers, he starts striking sharper, he starts moving faster. Suddenly, he's no longer the Neanderthal dragging men down. He's standing up, trading, timing, and when that day comes, the heavyweight division won't be ready. Because it's one thing to prepare for a grappler, it's another to prepare for a predator who can do it all. A monster with wrestling pressure, BJJ submissions, ground and pound savagery, and knockout potential. That's not evolution, that's extinction. And many careers will end because of it. And yet even now he remains a mystery. He doesn't beg for interviews, doesn't perform for cameras, he just vanishes between fights, only to return even more monstrous. And that's the real hook. He isn't chasing the spotlight.